Steve Hackett talks about the man who opened up Woodstock, Richie Havens. It's an interesting story. And when Steve, in the beginning of his solo career, was working with Richie, he told him a lot of secrets about that Woodstock concert. And there was a magic to working with Richie Havens. I'm John Beaudin from Rock History Music. Now remember, on this channel, as you know, we clip interviews into different pieces. But guess what? We have another channel where we feature the entire interview. So if you want to see the entire thing, this 8th interview with Steve Hackett, there'll be a link in the description of this video where you can check it out. When you worked with Richie Havens way back when,
Yes.
what was, I mean, you talked about Woodstock. I would take.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Well, all of the Genesis guys revered Richie. He was a big hero to us. We used to listen to him on the way to gigs, cassette tapes, and we'd hear these wonderful songs, and with that mixture of velvet and leather that his voice possessed, and with great compassion in the voice. But he had tremendous power. He was one of the most powerful singers ever, and I had a wonderful time working with him, and I felt hugely privileged that he was looking to me for my approval of what he was doing. And you can't buy that, when you work with greatness, and it's improving with each take and with each exchange of ideas. So with these songs, I really wasn't used to recording other people. My fledgling efforts as a solo performer. He said, well, what we should do with this vocal is, why don't you come out on the studio floor, and you sit in front of me, and then I'll be able to gauge whether it's working or not. So we were just working on headphones the whole time. It wasn't like I'm in the control room, Cecil B to thrill. I wasn't doing that. We were right there together. And when we did one of the tracks, he said, well, I think the way we should do this is, why do we do the backing track together, an acoustic song? And so we did. He did maracas and tambourine, and I strummed the guitar first of all. No click track, just this lazy kind of rhythm to it. And I overdubbed a few things on afterwards. Once we'd done that, he just put his voice down, and it sounded brilliant from the word go. He just got it straight off, like he'd been singing it his entire life. I kind of tried to make it sound a little bit Beatley, because I knew that he was a Beatles fan and he'd recorded some Beatles material. So I thought, let's do something in a Beatles style, and let's see how he responds to that. He was absolutely brilliant. I used to see him in London every year. He would come over and play the Jazz Cafe, do a number of nights, and I would always try and get to see him and say hi, and marvel at him, at close quarters and at a distance. I mean, he talked with great fondness of Woodstock. He said the reason why he was the first guy on was because he had a pal who had a helicopter. Everyone else was in cars, and so it was up to him to entertain that huge crowd. He said, as far as you could see, you looked out over a sea of faces, you never saw the end of it. There were people as far as the eye could see, and he was nervous about going out. He said, I can't do that. I've just got an acoustic guitar. I said, you're the only one here. You got to do it. But they loved him. He was. It's a mighty performance. I imagine that somewhere down the line, there's probably his complete performance, much as there is Hendrix' performance, because you can see from one moment to the next, he starts off, and then suddenly there's a jump cut, and he's actually drenched in sweat. He's giving it his all. He used to hyperventilate after every gig. That's what he did. He was singing. One of the notes I wanted to get him to sing on Icarus Ascending was, I said, can you hold that note a little longer? And you know what? He held this note, and he kept going twice as long as he'd done before. And he sort of genuflected, and he was bent double. and we thought he was going to die in the studio. He was just this breath that kept going, and it was extraordinary just to watch him. I will never forget it. That I always felt that I was in the presence of greatness when I was with him, and it's a bit like, I think maybe I always felt like my heart beat a little faster, and I felt that he was perhaps drawing energy from me in a good way, and it was a transcendent experience, and he was great. He came to dinner. I bought a house. My mother came to live with me for a while at the time, and she made dinner, and he helped her wash up. She was impressed with him, And Richie Havens, she dines out on that to this very day. There's Richie Havens helped me wash up. Yeah. How good can it get?
We'll have more from Steve Hackett in the next 2-3 days. Keep in mind, if you want to see the entire interview, it's on our sister channel, Rock History Book. There'll be links in the description of this video. Also links to the top Genesis albums, a feature we did a few years ago, and the top 25 Genesis songs, another feature we did maybe 4 or 5 years ago. We put a lot of production into it, so check it out. I'm John Beaudin. This is Rock History Music.